So when most people talk about their relationship problems, one particular topic keeps reoccurring, and this subject in question is money. But I did some thinking and had to ask myself if money was really the most common relationship problem. Welcome to today's episode, guys. On this channel, we talk about the journey to self-development. If you're new here, we trust you're going to love this video, and if you're a subscriber, thank you for coming back. It's great to have you here on this day when we get to talk about a very critical aspect of our human lives, relationships. And specifically, we'll be discussing the biggest problem people face in relationships, which, in a lot of ways, will open your mind to perspectives about relationships that can help mend yours or serve as a guide if you're new to the relationship sphere. So like I started saying, most people tend to peg all or most of their relationship problems on issues relating to finances. But the truth is, there's sometimes always more to what might seem like mere money problems. When you really think about it, the underlying issues behind the money problems are often what ruin the relationship, rather than money as a standalone factor. For instance, power struggles or lack of trust may hide under the umbrella of money troubles. I'm going to be sharing 5 of the top problems, which in my opinion, form the bedrock of other intense or smaller relationship problems. We'll get to this later, but I will also mention a few minor practices that you should and must avoid while dealing with the bigger issues. It's a really important part of this topic because a lot of times, the small things matter much more than we give them credit for. The first major problem I have been able to trace relationship crises to is the issue of assumption. Assuming your partner has the same needs as you. Assuming they should automatically know all the things you want and deserve, and the rest of the assumptions that leave you drowning in a sea of unrealistic expectations. It's easy to simply expect that your partner is on the same page as you are, because that's what chemistry is supposed to be about, right? But your partner is probably not a mind reader, and neither are you. So a lot of times, it'll be helpful to be super clear about your needs, especially if you end up with someone who wants different things from what you prefer. Communicating your needs becomes even more crucial. Do this bearing in mind that your partner came from a different background and may be unconscious of certain things you consider obvious. The biggest problem with assumption is that it quickly progresses into miscommunication, and of course, disappointment. Still on the subject of miscommunication, time management is another top relationship problem to pay attention to. Because people have different approaches to splitting their time between things, conflict can arise when one of the parties begins to feel they're not getting enough of their partner's time. They start to feel neglected, the resentment piles up, or gets transferred onto the most insignificant issue. It's why understanding your needs is really important, and it doesn't end there. You have to share these needs with your partner, especially the areas you want them to make changes. This is exactly how you build a healthy relationship. Now, if you're on the other end, and it's starting to feel like your partner wants way too much of your time than you could possibly spare, it's time to communicate honestly about how much time you want to spend with them and your priorities. Try to fit in more activities that will include your partner when planning your schedule. And remember, always be honest about requesting time alone, if you have to. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, please hit that subscribe button for more content about self-development and improving your life. It really helps our new channel, and your kindness will go a long way. Next is distrust, the foundation of several ills in relationships. Honestly, I don't think we acknowledge just how much distrust and jealousy can eat deep into a relationship and cause it to crumble. The worst part is that it gets away with it. Distrust can cause a number of problems in relationships without anyone successfully tracing it back as the root of the issue. Now it gets even worse if there are clear reasons for one person to distrust the other. a history of infidelity perhaps, words that were uttered in anger, or even actions that indirectly foster distrust. It's important to also mention that not all kinds of distrust have a base. I've talked to people in the past and discovered their distrust was simply a reflection of their poor self-worth or lingering issues from a past relationship. And this is where honesty with oneself comes in. You should be able to have a conversation with yourself to help you identify the true reason behind your distrust. Then check in with your partner and have the tough, honest conversation about how you feel, because these things have to happen in healthy relationships for partners to experience growth together. Next is owning up to your mistakes. We bring this attitude from all of our other relationships into the romantic one and then begin to wonder what went wrong. Sometimes it starts with growing up around people, adults, who never took responsibility for their actions, and unconsciously, we learn that and transfer it into our relationships. It's not always easy to admit it when you're wrong, but the question to ask yourself is if you really are more interested in being right than happy. So if happiness matters more to you, then you've got to learn how to own up to your part in a conflict. What happens when you acknowledge and apologize for your role in conflicts is that the other person then feels obliged to do the same, which brings the issue to an end in a calm and rational way. The fifth commonest problem in relationships is when partners pay excessive attention to the small stuff, like who left the pillow on the other end of the bed, or who forgot to put the toilet paper on the roll. You have to be very intentional about not stressing about the little things, because there are usually too many of them. And of course, these things can be annoying, irritating even. But here's a little exercise to help you get through these annoyances. Before you blow up, take a moment to pause and reflect on what you're about to say or do. Is reacting to this stuff really important right now? Again, it often boils down to which between right and happy you prefer to settle for in that moment. No matter how made for us our partners appear, the truth is that they may never be exactly how you want them to be. And if you focus excessively on their little irritating habits, you'll end up getting annoyed too often, the result of which would be conflict upon conflict. So now that we've talked about some of these budding problems, you probably didn't realize we're leaving a deep cut in your relationship. It's time to mention a few other practices people often overlook, but which are pretty much significant too. The first is skipping date night, which is something couples in this age may have to be a little more deliberate about. If you've already included date nights as part of your bonding routine, skipping it too often might just be the prelude to a major conflict in your relationship. Another practice I see happening too often these days is one partner threatening to leave at the slightest inconvenience. Unnecessary threats of divorce in an attempt to scare the other person affect trust and leave both of you feeling unsafe. Finally, you should be mindful of how much partying you're doing while your partner chills. Yes, it's okay to be the extroverted one between yourself and your partner, but consider how being away multiple nights in a row may affect your partner, the tension it can result in. I always advise couples in this to negotiate early on so one party doesn't start to feel left alone. I really hope you've gained something new today and would like to know in the comments if you've encountered any of these problems and what tricks helped you resolve them. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, and if you find this information useful, check out this other video from our channel too. Until next time, we wish you a happy and healthy day.